Can we start with the applying pressure part? What the hell does that mean? Does that mean chaser?
Yeah, what does putting like applying pressure mean?
Because like applying pressure, like at the heart is pursuing somebody, right? There's a difference between pursuing somebody and applying pressure. I feel like applying pressure is just a whole range of activities and actions that an individual may deem as like, oh, this is how they communicate interest, right? Based off of their own experiences. But I feel like pursuing somebody is being very intentional. There's no standard for applying pressure because it's very subjective.
Right.
Yeah.
Right? But to pursue somebody is objective.
Yeah.
Whenever I hear a word like that, I'm gonna immediately discredit it.
Yes.
Because I'm like, you don't know what you're talking about.
Bro.
You don't know what that means.
Define a...
And what is up, everybody? It's your boy Uncle Carlton back again with another episode of the Two Black Kings podcast. Xavier, Chuka, what's good with y'all?
Man. Good. I'm honored, bro. 2 Black Kings. It's 3 Black Kings.
Oh God, it's 3 Black Kings today. For sure.
Yeah, bro. It's I've been good, man. Just been a lot of relaxing. We're gonna get into what's going on with me a little bit later, but yeah, I'm blessed to have a really good friend with us.
Oh, for sure. Hey, black man.
Hey, black man.
Yeah.
Check the shirt.
Oh God, check
the
it.
shirt.
Check it. We gonna put the link in the description type shit. But
So of course, as we usually do, we're gonna start with the King of the Week.
For sure.
And none other do we have with us than Chuka Akpom, founder and CEO of Renaissance Man Book Club, a Dallas-based book club, 501c3 nonprofit seeking to bridge the gap between academia and entertainment, surround the holistic wellness of Black men. He originates from North Carolina.
Damn, I didn't even know that. Okay.
Take your shirt off.
Yeah, hailing from North Carolina, Wake Forest to be specific. Moved here, what was it, 2 years ago?
2020, yeah.
2020 from UNC
Chapel
Hill.
The peak of COVID.
Yep, starting his career with PepsiCo. So yeah, let's give it up for our guest, King of the Week, man.
For sure.
So how you been, King?
I'm good.
What's up?
I'm good, bro. God is good. Mm-hmm. Honestly, and that's all I got to say about it, man. Like, it's a lot of things going on that I'm trying to keep up with. But I don't know. I feel like this adulthood stuff is live. You know, it's like there's so many like ups and downs, but I mean, it's the human experience and all that shit is beautiful.
Facts.
Matter of fact, that takes me perfectly into the market update because I was just talking about this, and one of my head of real estate, he said, "Look, like." During an up market, a lot of people like to spend a lot of money, but they forget that there are down markets coming. And like you said, with adulthood, we're in a down market right now. Yeah, and so it would behoove you to save a little bit of money during the up times, just so. These niggas taking the goddamn behoove. I never heard a nigga say that word. It would behoove you to save a little money during the up times to go through one of these down markets. And I know if you listened to last week's podcast, not much has changed in the market over a week-to-week basis. But as we see last week, interest rates in America have gone up. The debt ceiling has increased, meaning that the market is in a down cycle. It's not as bad as it was in 2008, so I wouldn't really worry about that because instead of a credit risk, it's more of a liquidity risk. But unemployment is going up. Inflation is on the way down, which is the goal of the Fed. But other than that, real estate prices have gone and dropped down to lows over the past 3 years. And there's just a lot going on in terms of the economy, inflation, and how interest rates are affecting that. I'm not going to go back into how interest rates are affecting that, but just know that by decreasing discretionary income in totality, you decrease GDP and then you decrease inflation. So
yeah, we I know me and Rashad have a lot of conversations just about what's going on in the market, and what is on the horizon. So he talked a lot about the debt ceiling is actually reaching 17 million. So back in 2019, it was it's at 17 trillion. 2019 was at 2.9 trillion. So we are in extreme debt is rising, and that's attributed to mortgage loans, car loans, student debt, and we even talk about it in the book club. Is that we really have to prepare ourselves. I think Rashad may disagree, but I think we are on the verge of a 2008 crisis. We just not, we're not speaking loudly on it. But when I tell you, like, a lot of people are spending a lot of money that they just really just don't have. So the average American has about $49,000 in debt. And on top of that, we're not even counting the fact that student loans haven't even like resumed yet. And so when that resumes, like, people have their own cars, people have been like spending their money, they haven't acclimated their life to spend or putting that money towards student loans yet. So I think we're in a dangerous time right now. So just a little bit about me is just a moment of transparency. So I recently just got laid off from my job this past week. And when I tell you, it's been probably one of the most difficult times in my life. Just dealing with that, it's like, I've pretty much been with this firm since 2016. So it's if I could talk to like my college self, I would tell him, like, don't fall in love with like these companies.
Don't fall in love with them at all.
I think it's cool. That's like you can find a group of people that you're comfortable with, that you can work with. But at the end of the day, these companies don't love you.
They don't love you.
You're just a number to these. It's
essentially.
Like, once you cost more than your output is, then like you're on the chopping block, and that's a scary thing.
Even if you're net, like
that's a scary thing.
That's the crazy part.
And so a big part of it is just always looking for your next move. And Chuga, I actually want you to speak on this because we talk a lot about this, but trying to find your own outlet outside of your corporate life. How has that been with with Hey Black Man and the book club? How has that been?
It's been tough, I would say, like, because there's only a certain amount of hours in the day,
man.
So it's like, and I think like the world that we live in, bro, it's difficult at times to commit like my full energy to things that I'm not seeing a direct societal impact,
right?
And I feel like, I mean, it's Two Black Kings. Like, there's so much going on with the Black community, with like Black men, with just there's so many things that we deal with on a daily basis, and I feel like I try and find my time, or try and like balance my time between like what pays the bills and like what pays dividends like to my heart, to like the community and to society, and so like, I mean, fortunately, been able to do it by the grace of God, been able to find the time to like really like invest in like my people, my brothers around me. But it's hard. It really is hard, bro. Like trying to like having to wake up and knowing that like it's 6 million tasks that have to happen between like my job and like being on the trying to build something on the outside. I feel like but what that's made me have to be is extremely present. Because it's like, the second that you start thinking about task number 2, then task number 3, 4, and 500 start to come up. And then it's like, nah, like all you can really do is focus on like the immediate and like the present moment. Yeah. And like maximizing that and being like the best that you can be in that moment. And then trust that everything else is going to be like a trickle effect of that. So, I mean,
for sure.
Yeah, that's kind of where I've been, bro. Like trying to make sure that I'm navigating like the purpose and the bills. Right?
Man. See, I wanna pause right there, bro, because we just got 2 monologues of transparency, and I want y'all to know, like, we actually live the stuff that we're talking about. We're not just getting the advice from some outside source and relaying it to y'all. Like, we actually live the advice and give it to you. So don't ever think that we're giving you something that we haven't done before, or we're saying don't do this. We've made the mistakes, and that's exactly why we could tell you.
And we're making them.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, making presence.
Exactly. Xavier, can you
my bad.
Yeah, that's perfect.
So, but yeah, I appreciate you, just pretty much opening up about that. It's really essential. You connect with our listeners. So, but yeah, we're gonna move on to the next topic. Okay, so so we got a question from the viewers. We haven't done this in a little minute.
Oh shoot.
So the question I asked, because I had this girl, we were talking.
Woo. Yeah.
The DR and shit. But I asked her, do you think soulmates exist? So I'm gonna ask you, do you think soulmates exist?
Man, how do we define soulmates? I feel like we gotta start there.
Okay, so at least how I define a soulmate is somebody that, is made for you. you know, it really knows you better than you know yourself, and is willing and committed to, you know, the progress of you and your life, and you know, the well-being of you.
That just sounds like a good partner, bro.
I feel like
because
I feel like there's right. I mean, so everything I'm gonna say is gonna come from like my own like spiritual and Christian like background, right? I feel like God made a person specifically for me, right? And that person is going to be the person that uniquely like meets my needs, right? Or like that uniquely serves the partnership that God has intended for our relationship and union to serve. And so yeah, I feel like there's a such thing as a soulmate. Hope I find that person. You know, but yeah, I think it exists. I feel like it exists.
Okay.
Yeah.
So a follow-up question is, do you think, as you talked about like that one person, so you don't think that you can have multiple soulmates?
I mean, it depends on the context. Like romantic soulmate, I think there's only one, right? I choose to believe that there's only one.
Okay.
Right. But like platonic soulmates, I feel like you can have multiple of those. Like I feel like you can have friends that uniquely like pour into your purpose in a way that they're meant to, right? I feel like you can definitely have some platonic soulmates.
Okay.
Do y'all disagree? Like,
I completely 100% disagree.
This nigga stop breathing.
What?
You say
No, because okay. Let me preface by saying when I was in college, right? I mentor a lot of people, and one of the girls that I mentor had a boyfriend. I'm not gonna tell you her name, but you know who it is.
Say her name.
So she was always like, "Oh my God, my boyfriend's my soulmate. I love him so much. This, that, and the third."
That don't count. That don't count.
I mean, but we actually had this exact discussion at one of the Wednesday classes. I was like, "Do y'all think like soulmates exist?" She was like, "Yes, I'm with my soulmate right now."
God,
okay, no,
but I mean, it was cool. But
she's not a representative sample of what it truly means.
That might be true to be honest. But you know, weeks later they broke up. You know, this, that, and the third. Now she's with her next soulmate. You know how that goes. But I only said it to say like in terms of people who match with you, I agree. There are people who match with you just better than anybody else. I just think that's the case. But in terms of having just one, I don't think that's even possible, to be honest. Because not only are there more women in the world than men, which would leave either women just alone to be with other women, or it just wouldn't match. So either that's the case, or you just, how do I explain it? I just feel like putting that much pressure on one person and not even accounting for what time period you are in your life, I just feel like that's not.
So you're gonna have multiple wives?
No, I'm not gonna have multiple wives. But I'm gonna wait till I'm in a position where I can handle one wife.
And that's the thing. I feel like people like declare their soulmates prematurely.
Right.
Like I feel like you need to have a certain level of self-awareness,
which makes it lose the meaning to me.
Oh yes, yeah. I mean, so I agree. Like from a societal context, yeah, I feel like the idea of a soulmate is lost, right?
Okay, exactly. So for sure.
We can agree that it's been diluted.
Right.
But I think in general it does exist. I just don't think we've been approaching it the right way.
You know what? I could agree with that.
Okay.
I could agree with that.
I'm glad.
Yeah, I could agree with that. I agree with that.
I mean, I think it's interesting. I think there is multiple people that can fit the mold of my wife. I think it's more so, we're going to get into this with the book of the week, about making an intentional effort to choose that one person and pretty much making them your soulmate.
Word.
You know, because you know, there's a lot of things going on in the world where like you're always changing. Like I think that the adage is like every 7 years you're changing into a new person. And so I think it's growing to love that person and grow with that person is essentially what you have to do when it comes to soulmates. And so, you know, could you possibly do that with multiple women? It'd be rough, but you know,
they do it overseas, I guess.
They come back.
I'm talking about in like the Middle East type shit. They be like, I got 5 soulmates. I'm bullshit, but I'm just messing with you.
Yeah, you funny. But okay, so we're gonna move to our next segment. Am I tripping? So let me tell y'all what happened.
What happened?
So we're in a DR, right? Yeah. You know, that's how it
goes down in the DR.
Yeah.
Okay, hey,
matter of fact, let's pause right here.
What's up?
And if you haven't seen the DR vlog right now,
it's gonna be linked.
we're gonna check on the vlog, which Rashad wonderfully edited. That shit was amazing.
Thank you.
Go back and watch the vlog, and then come back to this moment. So yeah, I met this girl in a DR, and I didn't get her number, which is a new thing that I'm trying. Because I think since the advancement of technology and this communication has developed, there's pretty much no reason for me to get your number, unless you like a family member or like, a networking, plug or something.
Oh God.
Because one, I get social media just because one, I can match a name with a face. Mm-hmm. It's not a random ass number just texting me like, oh, hey. And I'm like,
yeah, who the hell is this?
So the whole am I tripping is, am I tripping for just texting this girl on IG? Because she got mad at me and she told me, quote, "You not applying enough pressure because you haven't asked for my number yet."
Can we start with the applying pressure part? What the hell does that mean? Because I would say a girl that we were with this weekend, she didn't tell me this specifically, but she said, "I want a man that's attractive, blah, blah, to apply pressure." And she was basically telling me to apply pressure to her, and I was like, "Look, I'm already talking to somebody, blah, blah, blah." But what, like, does that mean chase her?
Yeah. What does putting like applying pressure mean?
Okay, so I feel like we have soulmate, we have applying pressure. I feel like a lot of these are like Twitter words.
Man,
I feel
come on, bro.
I feel like,
and they just like parsley.
And the thing is, I feel like they lose meaning, they lose value, right? Because like applying pressure, like at the heart is pursuing somebody, right? But like, I feel like there's a difference between pursuing somebody and applying pressure. I feel like applying pressure is just a whole range of activities and actions that an individual may deem as like, oh, this is how they communicate interest, right? Based off of their own experiences. But I feel like pursuing somebody is being very intentional. And I feel like there's a different standard for pursuing and applying pressure. I feel like there's no standard for applying pressure because it's very subjective.
Right.
Yeah.
Right? But to pursue somebody is objective.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I mean, as far as I feel like we just, whenever I hear a word like that, I'm gonna immediately discredit it.
Yes.
Because I'm like, you don't know what you're talking about.
Bro.
You don't know what that means.
Define applying pressure, right? And like, am I like pursuing you or am I feeding your ego? Because those are two different things.
Exactly.
Right? I feel like when people say applying pressure, oftentimes it's like, you're not feeding my ego. Right, I could be pursuing you, but not feeding your ego, and now I'm not applying enough pressure.
Right.
However, I think you should have gotten it.
Oh my God.
Because like, how long were y'all on Instagram? DM
Like 3 or 4 days.
I met this chick last week.
Okay, but how many DMs?
To be honest,
But you was in there though. He was in there. Let's not get it fucked up. He was in there.
I was in there, but
But let
she live in London. This is my whole thinking. She was in London. And I'm not trying to pay them extra.
You can't tell me. You can't tell me this nigga ain't got bad.
He wasn't applying pressure.
But she had money. She was gonna come to you. You already know Texas is the hot spot, bro.
I am a bro.
But let me preface it like this. So I kind of understand what she needs.
Yeah.
Only because I would have did the same thing as you and just hit her up on Instagram, but she wanted to FaceTime you.
Possibly.
And so you can FaceTime on Instagram, but that's still kind of weird.
Wild.
Wild.
Yeah.
So from the aspect of, I want to FaceTime this dude, I can understand how over time she low-key lost interest because she wasn't seeing your face and seeing your vibe.
Yeah.
She was just seeing a message and like,
Which is understandable.
And then we already like busy and not, I wouldn't say we dry, but we don't be overly excited in messages. Yeah. So she was just probably like,
Yeah.
However, like 3 to 4 days of IG DMs, I feel like you should have got a number after like day 2.
Damn.
So I'm tripping.
So we just need to ask for the number.
I think it's very, and that's fair. Now, if you like had an intention of like maintaining communication, then I would have got the number. But if you were like, oh, this is just something that I'm about to like, swipe up on every now and then, like, then that's a different situation. It's just a matter of you.
Which is low key what he was thinking.
Okay, so it's just a matter.
100%.
So like, yeah. So then it's just a matter of what your intentions were, and it wasn't to apply pressure. It was to just vibe out.
Oh, good. Because like I don't know the next time I'm be in London. Like
I know the next time we're gonna be in London.
Next year, you did.
You seen that white girl with the blue eyes?
Oh man.
Okay, so I got to end my trip too. So let me just preface this with this weekend. So this weekend we went to where did we go?
Harlow.
We went to Harlow's. Yeah,
Oh,
you know, just we seen a couple girls that I know from Instagram or whatever. Mm-hmm. Just that and the third. So me and Dion, we go up to him, we talk to him, whatever. God. Dion talking to her friend, I'm talking to the other friend. But as I'm talking to her, I'm just getting all this attitude, all these facial expressions, and like she's playing hard to get. Mm-hmm. I'm like, hold on a minute. Mm-hmm. I'm not even trying to get her.
Yeah.
Why is she playing hard to get? I'm just trying to talk to her. Mm-hmm. But she's like rolling her eyes, looking away, doing this. I'm like, okay. I'm like, maybe she's just doing this because she's uncomfortable. So I give her some time, right? Mm-hmm. We go throughout the night, link up with Xavier and Mario. We doing our thing. We lit. We low key drunk too because I was drunk as hell.
I was drunk.
I'm taking shots of like pure vodka. That's how drunk I am. So I'm chopping it up. She's like, "Oh, let's go to the after party because Harlow's closed or whatever." So we go to this little spot up in Addison, and we talking or whatever. And she's giving me the same vibe. It's like hella masculine energy to where she's like trying to compete with me. Like Mario came up was like, you know, this guy, he makes a lot of money. She was like, well, I make money too. And I'm like,
she was quick to say that.
Quick to say it. Quick to give me attitude. I'm like, I'm just trying to have a normal conversation with you. I'm a chill guy. At least I like to think so. Especially when I'm drunk, I just be chilling. So I'm like, why are you giving me all this energy? So am I tripping for completely ghosting her?
No. I think, but I will say that's like a new thing in like today's age of society is like just ghosting people. I think, you know, as a person on the other side.
So should I text her and be like, look, blah, 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 blah. This is what happened.
Shit ain't working out. Boom. Ended.
Type shit.
And so like she knows, you know, I say this, but I need to practice it a little bit more. It's just like letting girls know on the front end, like, hey, I'm not feeling.
The only reason why I ghosted her is because we had just met that night, and I was like, maybe I don't feel like I'm too deep.
Yeah, see, that's different. I feel
you know
like
what I mean?
if y'all don't have any like pre-established relationship, like, I mean, human decency, I guess.
Human decency,
say something. But I feel like if there's no pre-established relationship or rapport, like, there's no obligation, at least in my eyes, to like. To have that level of communication with somebody that you don't really fuck with like that.
The reason why I'm debating texting her because she leaving me little Instagram note DM messages talking about, no, you're a word. That's the girl I was talking about. Or like, I can't believe you did this. You know, it's like that type of stuff. I'm like,
I mean, I feel like people aren't like owed your energy though. You know,
100%.
Like,
100%. Yeah. I love that right there. They so
no, that's not to say to be an asshole.
Yeah.
You know, within reason.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So yeah, I guess I'm tripping now.
Yeah, you are.
Yeah, you got
get her number.
You got me. Okay, so now it's time to move into the topic of the week / book of the week. So first, I want to just say we talked about how Chuka is the founder of the Renaissance Man Book Club. It started about 2021?
2022, January
2022 is actually when I first met Chuka. Yeah. He asked in this big group that he created. He was like, do niggas read anymore? And I was like,
yes,
of course, bro. So,
in that bit.
Yeah, when I tell you that was one of the biggest blessings of my life, just being able to get connected with, you know, like-minded men, men that are emotionally intelligent, which is going to be the overarching topic of today's podcast is just Black men and being emotionally intelligent. So read books like All About Love, The Alchemist, How to Be Black,
Four Agreements.
Yeah, Four Agreements, just amongst a few. And so what we're doing right now is Relationship Goals by Michael Todd. And when I tell you Michael Todd is a dynamic preacher, man of God. And so, kind of want to get your thoughts. We're going to go into a couple of themes within the book, but what are your initial thoughts about, you know, the beginning chapters of the book?
Man, it's tough because so I had mixed views about Michael Todd. You know, like I think
it was
yeah. Yeah. I feel like, you know, but the thing is, it's like he's had a lot of messages that have blessed me, right? So it's like I try and acknowledge that in his writing, that like where he's coming from is a good place. It's just the execution sometimes isn't the best. So I have to like I consistently, because when I'm reading something or when I'm listening to somebody, if I'm taking anything in from somebody, I'm like, what's the source, right? And like, who is this a reliable person? So I consistently question that whenever I read anybody.
Right.
And so that was like the initial kind of barrier I had to hop through. It's like, all right, this nigga be doing some things that I don't fuck with, but he's had messages that have really changed my life.
Right.
That was thing number one. But the thing number two is like, because it's written from like a Christian point of view, and that's what I identify as, it's really had me like questioning or like challenging myself of like, am I abiding by these this framework, right? Am I abiding by like what he's setting out here is like the way in which the Bible like asks us as men to navigate relationships.
Word.
And so it's like a whole bunch of introspection that I feel like has come from it, which has I think it's made me think about life differently. It's made me think about like relationships differently. And I mean, it hasn't been too different from how I was already moving, but it's just giving me a little bit more scripture to back it up. And more conviction in my spirit to be like, okay, like, you know, maybe I shouldn't be X, Y, and Z, this, and the third.
All this from the first 2 chapters.
Well, so I'm a little further along.
Oh, you're a little further. Okay,
the first 2 was like the earlier shit I said.
Yeah,
now I'm more so like, damn, it's kind of reading me type.
Okay,
So yeah, that's what I'm at right now.
Yeah, so this is actually like my second time
Reading
around
it,
reading the book. So
That's what's up.
when I tell you like dynamic, so let's just get into the one of the themes. So the first theme is, man, this is one thing that I would say I struggled with in my very first relationship. So he talks a lot about honesty versus transparency. So the book highlights the importance of honesty in any relationship, suggesting open communication builds strong trust and bonds within your relationship with your partner. And so I guess, Rashad, what I want to pose to you is, what do you think is the difference between honesty and transparency?
I'm so glad you asked. We just talked about this maybe a couple months ago. But for me, like, this is a revised version, so just bear that in mind. This is not the first time I thought about it. But honesty is more, okay, I'm telling you what you need to hear. And transparency is I'm telling you everything.
Come on.
And so what that means is everybody doesn't need to hear everything that's on your mind.
I like this. Expand.
Okay.
And so with transparency, you're like, okay, I'm going to go into a relationship transparent. You're going to tell your partner some things that they don't want to know, but they're going to say they want to know. For instance, this girl I'm talking to right now, she says she was joking, but you know, there's always a little bit serious in it. She's like, I need you to lie to me sometimes because I'm a very honest, transparent person. I'll tell her, look, this girl is getting at me right now. Bob, this is happening. This is happening. Exactly. I will literally go up to a girl to her face and be like, I got another girl, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
So that's more transparency. What I'm trying to be more is honest in where the things that I deem necessary to tell them, and there's stipulations, and I'm still working on this because I can't just be like the only judge. Like I have to tell some hard truths. But being honest and saying the things that need to be said is more honesty, and saying everything is more transparency.
So do you think there are people that are owed your transparency, or is it all just honesty?
I think anybody who I am taking seriously and I see a future with is owed the transparency.
Gotcha.
And it's funny that you gave your perspective because I think I was complete opposite. I feel like I was more honest than I was transparent. So like if you ask me a question, I'd be like, this is what happened. But I ain't gonna tell you nothing else that you.
But see, I was more transparent than I was honest, and that shit blew up.
But I think where it comes in is that, you know, being transparent with somebody, especially somebody that you respect, is like, you know, being forthcoming with all the information. And I felt like, you know, back when I was a people pleaser, like I wanted to save everybody's like feelings. So if I feel like whatever I'm saying to you is gonna hurt your feelings or is gonna ruin our relationship, I'm gonna just keep it at honesty and just be like, hey, this is the honest truth, and we're just gonna leave it at that. I think now I'm transitioning to more of like transparency, which, you know, that's burned me a couple of times.
It's gonna burn you a lot of times.
Because I'm like, you asked for the truth.
No, but be prepared for people to not like you, and then be prepared for people who don't like you to tell other people that you did something wrong. Be prepared for that, because it will happen.
Do you think you're struggling with honesty or transparency? Really,
I'm trying to delineate the difference between the two. Like, I kind of get it.
Okay, so this is how I define it.
Okay,
if let's just say I had a girlfriend. We go out to Harlow one night. There's a girl, she touched my leg, she kissed me on the cheek, she dancing on me. Boom. I go back home. How was Harlow, babe? Oh no, you know, I'm just with my niggas, we were chilling. That's honesty.
That's honesty.
That's honesty. I was with my niggas, we were chilling.
You didn't lie.
Transparency
the
is
full truth.
Man, let me tell you about this girl that was rubbing on my leg and she was kissing me on the cheek. And so that's what I had to work on, is more so giving the information that I know she won't. At the end of the day, I know she won't.
But does she want it though?
I think so you had put it in you had said being forthcoming about it, so as in like not even necessarily needing to be prompted to tell like the full story about something. I mean, I think that's kind of what I think to your point, or there's certain tiers of what you get from me. I think I try to be honest in all my relationships, but in terms of transparency, I feel like that's like I equate that to vulnerability. Not everybody's owed that, right? Like I feel like
what do you have to,
as in like not everybody needs to know the like full depths of my like thinking, or just my emotional state. I feel like some people are or need the objective truth, and some people get like the objective truth plus the subjective that informs.
Well, pause there. Why do you think people don't need to know the full depths of your thinking?
Because I think I feel like that's an honor, right? So like I feel like to know somebody at like a very deep level, that's access. Like, that's access to how you think. That's access to your emotions, and I think. And that's not to say that I withhold that, from most. It's like I am pretty vulnerable. Like I am pretty transparent, but like in a space where I feel like it's warranted, right? Or like I'm intentional about my transparency. So that's just giving your heart out to everybody, right? I can't do that. And I feel like you have to not necessarily prove yourself of like worthy of it, but it's like, I mean, everybody isn't worth but everybody isn't meant to have access to you, like full access to you. That's what I think transparency is full access to me.
Right. I think that's a great point. Like just being, forthcoming with information, it is it's an honor at the end of the day.
It's an honor.
And I think on the other side of it, when people are transparent with me, that's how I know they respect me.
Right.
Like at the end of the day, you're like, damn, like they actually
Well, let me revise my statement too, because I just, kind of thought of something as Chuka was talking, but maybe like we start off as honest and then it gets more transparent as time goes on.
Correct.
Because like if I start off as transparent, who knows if they can handle it? But if I start off honest and then we have a couple of real conversations, I'm like, look, this is how I'm thinking, blah, blah, blah. Then they'll be able to be like, okay, he means well when he says this stuff. He's not just saying this because he's a jerk, which I get a lot. You're just a jerk. Or I'll revise somebody's paper, be like, damn, you must think I can't write, or something like that. And I'm just like, that's not, I'm coming from you like trying to help you and so you can be the best that you can be, not trying to rip on you.
Right.
So,
I think, okay, so one of the next, just to move on to the next theme of the book, which I really, loved, is God-centered relationships. And that's something that I'm slowly trying to get more and more into. So he talks a lot about the significance and emphasis on relationships that are centered in God, suggesting that spiritual aspects can provide guidance, strength, and shared values. So, when you're looking for your partner, how important, in a scale of 1 to 5 or whatever, how important is it for that person to be, God-centered?
It's like the biggest thing. That's the biggest thing for me. Because it's like, that's what I submit to, right? And I think it's like having a ref in your relationship. Right? Like if y'all are playing by different rules, then y'all are never going to be able to see eye to eye when there's real conflict. Right? You need to have somebody that's like the mediator. And I feel like that's kind of like that's one of the functions I feel like that God plays in a relationship. And so it's like, if I can't trust that we're aligned to the same values and morals, like we have the same moral compass and it's informed by the same like teachings, then there's no telling what is going to like, fuck us up. So I think it's all about having the same focal point, so that regardless of how far we like move from the center, like we're still bound to something that allows us to like still come back towards each other, right? Or towards a common, I guess, goal or common understanding.
I think important thing to know, especially us being 24, 25, 26, is that we are now in an age where we can actually come up with our own ideals and consciousness of what one spirituality or religion actually means to you. So when I was going through, I was raised in, just to show you, like, let y'all know my background, I was raised in a church. Like my granddad was a pastor, my grandmother was like first lady. So like when I tell you every Sunday, it was church. And then I also went to a Catholic school. So like Wednesday through Sunday.
You was in there.
I'm in there.
You was in
and
there.
If it was revival, then it was like every single day of the week,
you was really
we going to be in church. And so, I think most people with that upbringing, you know, they grow up and they're just like, I'm not going to church. I'm not gonna go. Just because it's been shoved down my throat every day. So I think when I got to college, I did stop going to church when I got to college. But as I'm growing up now, you know, I'm going to church a lot more. I think it's more of a foundational piece for me. So when I encounter people, let's just say, you know, I'm finding somebody that, you know, I'm trying to court or whatever, I do consider it a top priority that you have God in your life, because one thing it tells me is that you are not relying on your own understanding. Because when you start relying on your own understanding, you're walking so blindly within like the world that we're living in, and that you don't really understand yourself. I think, you know, to go back to your point of just like adding that foundation, it's like when everything is everywhere and we're not agreeing with anything, we can come back and be like, all right, so what does God say about, you know, adultery? What does he say about conflict within or with my wife? And I think it allows you to abide by a certain amount of principles to where you can go back on. And I think that's just so important within a relationship. It's just finding somebody that's God-centered within your relationship is just so important.
Rashad, what you think?
I'm glad you asked. So like Xavier, my grandfather was a preacher. Church was shoved down my throat, but instead of, you know, going to church later on in life, I just have stopped going. That doesn't mean I haven't read the Bible. That doesn't mean that I haven't watched church online. Just going to the physical church, I haven't done in probably years now. And so for me, our relationship with God is a priority, but it's not a top priority. My top priority is more, does a woman know who she is? Because for me, I just think a lot of people, they read the Bible, but they misinterpret what it means, or who even knows what their original interpretation is. But when I read the Bible, I can interpret something, the same scripture, way different than a slave owner or a woman for that instance. And so like, I feel like it leads to a lot of misconception in a relationship sometimes because people just misinterpret what's being read. And so that's why I harp on, does this woman know who she is? Does this woman know that she's going to change in 7 years versus making decisions based off a scripture that she interpreted and it could be interpreted wrong. And so that's kind of my view on it, just because I personally would like to go to church. I personally would like to keep God in my life because I think that he gives me a lot of peace. I could walk around or drive around the street and not worry about a car wrecking into me and dying because I'm like, okay, God is with me. You know, I carry this stuff in my wallet. My mom prays over me. My grandmother prays over me. So it brings me peace to know that there's something or a being or universe or spirituality out there that's protecting me. But in terms of a main priority in my relationship, I think it's more, does the woman know herself?
I think, and which is why I like, one is why I like our podcast, just because like we have a different perspective on like that view. Just because, and we talked about it in our group about there's some girls that that do the whole celibacy and they're just like they're like, oh, I gotta get close.
They're completely misinterpreting the Bible when they say that.
All right,
you're like, bro,
is that really?
Like, you've been popping it for everybody in the city, but all of a sudden, when you're 26, you want to be celibate, a born again. Like, come on, bro.
And that's why, because like this isn't just because it hasn't. If it had been like a one-off thing, then I'd be like, all right, okay, like she's trying to get closer to God. She knows what she's doing, but at the same time, it's people that one are very they need to show it. They need to show it. Yeah, they're not living it at all.
And that's the problem.
They're evil people.
Yes. And
then they put a scripture talking about God number one. If you ain't got God in your life, I'm like, all right.
And like,
you're a horrible person.
Bro, you. And then it'd be right after they did something terrible. They go and they try to rectify it with a scripture on their Instagram.
Yes, I'm like, that's not you.
No,
you're an evil
person.
But I think that's what runs some people away away from the Bible. It's just like I know who she is, and she trying to quote all these scriptures. She ain't no better than me.
Exactly.
And so like, I think it takes men like us to like start to guide these women, and that's what we do as men. Like we're the guiders, we're the visionaries.
Right.
Is that we're supposed to lead them to the right space, but you have to do it in a very intentional way, which brings me to like my next theme of the book is intentionality. So he talks about from dating to marriage, you need to establish clear understandings about your own intentions, and ensuring that everything that you do, is for a reason. And I think a lot of people do stuff, to go back to the whole people throwing out words on Twitter. They do stuff just because they hear their friends say it, and they're just like, all right, this is cool, so I'm gonna just try it with her. Chuka, speak on what it means to be very intentional, within any relationship, not necessarily romantic, but just within your relationship.
Yeah, I think it's to have like a vision for it, like a goal for it.
That's
right?
so important.
And I think that's how he starts off the book, is that like a lot of people miss out on the meaning of relationships because there's no identified like goal or direction that they want to take it in. Because when you have a direction, then you can be intentional about what are the steps that need to happen for it to get there. Yeah. Instead of being aimless about it.
Word.
And so I think it's like, it's being, I think one of the biggest ways that intentionality shows up is like in our words, right? Like how do we be impeccable with our words, and kind of like in reference to like 4 agreements. It's like, how do we make sure that everything that we're saying has like a literal meaning and like a spiritual meaning, right? And so I try and be very intentional about like making sure that like with honesty, right? Like that's a huge part of intentionality, like making sure that your thoughts are communicated, that like that this is not like your conversations and what you're saying in the moment is not just for that moment. It's for like you're planting a seed in every word that you're saying. Word. And then also manifest in our actions, like in like if you really are trying to like pursue somebody, right? Like if you're really trying to develop a relationship, are you applying pressure, right? Like are you thinking about how every single action like lends itself to the goal of having a relationship, if that is your goal? I think intentionality starts with a clear understanding of what your goals are. And then from there, like making sure that every action leads up to that. And I feel like that's something that I've tried to uphold in all of my relationships, because I don't want to just occupy a space in somebody's life. Like I feel like if I'm here, I want to improve it. I think that's what we're supposed to be doing 100%. As men and as people in general, is like anybody that we encounter, we're supposed to advance them towards their purpose. And I feel like that's the ultimate goal of intentionality, whether it's in a relationship or a friendship. It's like, how do you make sure that your words and actions are advancing that person that you're around towards their purpose?
Man,
that's great.
I think that's so important because I think, and this is another one of the things, another theme of the book was physical intimacy. I think during college, I think I was not intentional with a lot of things. I think it was just trying to get girls, trying to get in their pants, trying to finesse them, anything. But that's like the nature of college, is like,
this nigga right here. Get a load of this guy.
That's what we're doing.
The bands, yes.
These niggas are taking me up.
But no, I think I would say personally for me, I think college skewed my vision of relationships and how intentional I was within my relationships because of it was based in physical intimacy. To go back to, a little bit background about us, me and Rashad actually went to all boys school. So we would go to the lunch table and it wasn't like, so how did you respect the girls?
You seen the vlog,
What were you doing this weekend? What she do? Oh, you ain't kiss her?
Oh God.
You must see that.
Oh God.
And so it got difficult for me when I went to college because, having that view of how I'm supposed to be with women, you supposed to be getting that girl, you supposed to be that girl. My intentionality within my relationships was, I'm just trying to have sex. That was pretty much the baseline of it.
That was it.
And so as I started to grow, as I got into 2020, 2021, I had to realize that, when I'm texting these girls, I have to text them for a reason, and being intentional with that reason, it cuts down all the flack, it cuts down all the miscommunication of what is actually going on. And I think that's one thing that I'm like slowly, getting better about is my intentionality in romantic relationships. I feel like in my platonic relationships, friendships, I'm very good when it comes to intentionality. Like I'm gonna let you know up front, how to respect me, and we had this conversation a lot. It's just about how, you know, you teach people how to respect you, and if you don't, and they disrespect you, you kind of have to be okay because you haven't taught them like exactly how to actually respect you. So, Rashad, how have you? Because I respect the way Rashad is intentional with his relationship, to go back to the whole transparency point, because he's gonna tell you how it is off rip. So how have you worked on?
So let me start by going back to MUS. So them folks did teach us like you're supposed to just be having sex, period. And so like throughout all of high school and college, that was like their main goal with girls. Like, okay, I'm just gonna do.
And it was our first time with like girls in the classroom.
First time with girls in the classroom. Whoa. So I'm not even gonna lie. I'm gonna have a moment of transparency here. I've had sex with a lot of women. I'm not even gonna lie.
Amen.
Why?
That nigga said. Hey, some people don't believe it.
Oh
but
my
you know,
God,
like,
he's a virgin.
Type shit. But what I've learned from you know all my years throughout college and some of my years outside of college is that really, when you have sex, there's a lot of stipulations that go with that. Now you got to be responsible for her feelings. You have to figure out if she got an STD or not if you didn't use a condom.
Man.
Don't let you have nutted in her. Now you got to figure out if she's going to be pregnant or not. You got to get a plan B.
Yeah.
And so when you're thinking about all those and you're just continuously going through women, that stuff messes with your mental because you get inside, it gets inside your head, all that emotional baggage, all of that, you know, stress. I mean, because I don't know if y'all have ever almost had an STD, but that shit is not fun. It's not fun. So I would say that over the.
Wait, I'm sorry. What do you mean almost had an STD? Like,
how you almost
like,
had an STD?
Like you only have the
You almost got me.
That's what it is. Okay, you almost got me type shit. Like you almost got me type shit. But
STD.
But what I learned. Hold on. What do you think about But over the years, I've learned that sex kind of clouds the judgment, and so you can't really make a logical decision when you're emotional like that. And so what I like to do is, I'm not saying that I don't like to have sex, but I do like to get to know a woman first before I engage in those activities, because there's a lot of stipulations that come with that. And that leads to being intentional, because now when I look at a woman, I like most of the women, actually all the women I've dated, I knew from jump, like I would date this woman. So if I don't immediately say I would date this woman, then it's pretty much a dub.
What makes you say that? Like, what do you got to see?
I don't know. It's different because I like tall, light-skinned women. You know what I mean? My ex wasn't tall and light-skinned, but when I saw her, I was like, it was really her vibe. Like, she was fine for sure, but she was just so chill. And a lot of these females, they be so like, I don't know how to explain it. It was just the vibe. Yeah. And so like, being intentional, I know if I would take this woman serious or not. And then with that and getting to know her, it's like, okay, then we go into what Chuka said about, okay, can we have a goal for the relationship? Can we grow together? Can we do that? And I think that being intentional has more to do with how old you are and what your mindset is as a man than anything else. And a lot of women, they do struggle because they always ask me, how do I get a man to take me serious? It has a lot to do with you, but really it has a lot to do with what kind of men do you pick. Come on. And what I find is a lot of women, because they either don't have father figures, they don't listen to their father, or some happens, they don't know what good men look like. And so they always go after the bad guys. And or the athletes, because it gives them a dopamine release or whatever it does, it drives them crazy. But then they see a good guy and they call him boring because he goes to work and comes home. You know what I mean? Or he does this, that, and the third, but he might be playing the video games on a Saturday night, saving money. And so I kind of got off topic with the intentionality, but the main point was, you know, I've transitioned to a point where I don't really like to have sex with women when I first meet them. I like to get to know them. And then if I say in my head, man, I would date this girl, then I like to be intentional establish a goal for the relationship and then just grow together.
Come on. And so the last piece that I want to touch on with the book, and then we can get into more emotional intelligence, is forgiveness. So he talks a lot about how within relationships, you're going to have a lot of mistakes. Mistakes are inevitable. There are stresses that come with creating a relationship. And it's so important to be to reconcile and move past hurt. And so I want to take it away from romantic relationships like right now, because when I talk about forgiveness, it's like I think that's a hard thing that I've had to deal with, man, over the past 3 years, 2020. And we talked about this, the whole forgiveness. It's like, at what point do you forgive somebody? Because to go back to the whole point about me in college, like, of course I was a people pleaser. So at first how I looked at forgiveness, it was just like, no, it was cool. Like, you do me wrong. No, you're good. Like, it's fine. I would say 2020, 2021, it was more of, you do me wrong. Oh, I'm never talking to you again. And like, I don't care if this takes a year. I don't care if it takes a few years. Like, and now I'm at a point of trying to decide, when people do disrespect me, or when I feel hurt or betrayed, how can I handle forgiveness? What does God say about forgiveness and forgiving that person? In the Bible, he talks about, forgiving somebody 77 times 7. It's like, you need to forgive them over and over just because he's forgiven us. And so I think forgiveness is a lonely road. It's something that is needed. But it's a muscle that needs to be grown and strengthened over time. So Chuka, I want to ask you, like, how have you handled forgiveness, over these past 2 years?
Man, not of my strength. That's what I will say. Like, it hasn't just been me. Like, I feel like, because the thing is, one thing about me is, like, I don't like to exert energy being mad at nothing.
Man,
like, I feel like it's like logistically, right? Like, if I'm waking up and I have to remember that I'm like mad at somebody, I've already lost, right? Because it's like, that's just conceding my power and my well-being to somebody else who's probably not even thinking about me right now.
Right.
Thing number one. But thing number two is, to that point of I think in the Bible it says, like, when you pray to God, like, if you're ever going to ask him for something, you need to first make sure that you're not, like, harboring any, ill will towards nobody. Like, make sure that you ask or that you've forgiven those who've done you wrong and ask for God's forgiveness. And so it's like, before you can ever go any step further. And so it's like, if I want to develop my relationship with God, right, like, I got to look at, like, okay, what's in the way of that? And unforgiveness is, like, 9 times out of 10, but one of the largest things that be in the way of that relationship. And that's my priority, is maintaining that relationship with God. And so I literally, like, because it's been people. It's definitely it's been people that's had me.
Oh, God.
That's had me.
Okay, so and we can delve more into it because I feel like it gets even harder when it's it's a little bit easier when it's somebody that you just met, a friend, and they do you wrong. And I forgive you. Let it go. Yeah. But when it's somebody that's close to you,
man, that shit hurts so bad.
Whether it be a family member or a really, really close friend, what is your process of forgiveness?
I'd be like, God, can you help me forgive someone? Like, it's literally like, because the thing is, bro, like, it left for me and my own devices. I used to be a petty nigga. Like, I used to not want to forgive. People. It's like, I want to get mine. I gotta. Man, that shit right.
Yeah.
but like, I feel like I literally like be in my journal writing down names of people that I need to forgive, right? Like, God, help me forgive this person. Help me forgive this person. Help me forgive this person. As soon as they come into my mind, and then, like, I think there's a certain power in praying for them people that that have done you wrong, right? Like, when you get to the point where you're like, okay, I know this person, like, fucked me over. I know this person, did X, Y, and Z to me. However, God, I'm praying for their well-being.
Word.
I feel like that just does something to you.
Word.
Right? Like, when you're literally, like, asking the creator of the universe for their well-being, like, it's like that changes something in you. Like, you can't be the same. Like, you can't do that and, like, have a negative heart.
You're releasing that negative energy.
You're literally releasing that negative energy by doing the complete opposite of what they done to you. So I feel like that's kind of a way to, like, train your mind into forgiving somebody or trick your mind into forgiving somebody is by praying for them
Rashad, you feel like you've gotten a little bit better?
So I'm gonna preface it with this.
Whenever his hands go like this,
I'm
gonna say a big word. It means compartment, or it is compartmentalized. And a lot of people don't know what compartmentalized means, but it basically means you can separate things and not really be emotional about them. So I've compartmentalized forgiveness, but that doesn't mean that I continue to mess with that person. And so I don't know if y'all know the story. I'm not gonna get into it because it's dead. Okay, so basically in college, I was dating this girl, and then one of my close friends wouldn't date her right after me. So for 2 years, me and him were not cool, but we still had to race each other. And when we would race, we would be going at it.
You win?
I won something, bro. It was crazy because like in the 2 year span, we went like 3-3.
Shit, okay.
Damn, y'all gotta race.
Oh God!
And
it doesn't help that to this day we both retired. We had the exact same.
Sheesh.
It's crazy.
Sheesh.
But
Call
to
that nigga now.
y'all got to get back to the forgiveness part. When I was in that situation, I didn't know how to handle it. I was very immature. I just didn't know how to handle it. I definitely didn't know how to compartmentalize. So I just took out all my anger on the track, which I think was a very healthy way. But not a lot of people have that type of outlet.
Right.
And so they might take it out doing this, that, and the third. And so I think that to get to the emotional intelligence part, forgiveness, you kind of have to separate your emotions from the forgiveness. Like Chuka said, you have to let that shit really go. Yeah. Because if you don't, then your entire life is gonna be a cloud of rain. Because you're just focused on someone else who probably doesn't even give a fuck about you.
Man.
And so the reason why I'm so big on forgiveness and compartmentalizing my feelings and forgiveness is just because I have to protect my own energy.
Man.
I have to protect myself.
At the end of the day.
And at the end of the day, if I don't forgive this person, then I'm not at peace.
Yeah.
Wait, so question for you. When you say compartmentalize your feelings, like, do you still feel those emotions, or do you like just push them? You push them to the side. You don't feel them?
So a great quote that I heard from my therapist when I was running track is, "You could still be scared, but perform admirably." Okay. And then we went more into my relationship with my ex, and he was telling me, look, if you want to talk to her and she doesn't want to talk to you, then really you're being selfish and that type of thing. So and we continue to talk. I'm not going to go through the whole conversation, but we continue to talk. And I was like, okay, so what should I do? And he was like, well, you need to feel these feelings of wanting to text her, wanting to reach out to her, wanting to go to her house, but do nothing about it. And so that's what I do now. I feel all the feelings, but have zero action. And so a lot of people will think I'm ignoring them, or think I don't care, or but I'm just a stoic dude who is feeling very sad, but I'll just hop on the game and not do anything. I'm feeling very sad, I'll go on a run. I'm feeling very sad, I'll go play basketball. I'm feeling overwhelmed, I'll take a bath. I won't do necessarily anything to another person, but I'll just remain stoic and feel those emotions and just do nothing about it.
Bro, and when I tell you that I've known Rashad ever since like 5th, 6th grade, like that is one thing that he's like slowly worked on. And it takes so much like emotional intelligence to like actually do. Because I guess my whole thing on forgiveness is that, you know, it got to a point when I was going through that whole moment of holding grudges and because my feeling on it was, I want you to feel as bad as you have made me feel. Right. Like, and whatever I needed to do, it wouldn't let me cut you off or be petty or anything. Like, I wanted you to feel that. But then it got to a point where I was just like, damn, if I die tomorrow, like, I've died with that heavy heart.
That heavy heart, bro.
Trying to get back at that person. Yeah. You know, trying to prove something to that person. So what I had to realize in my heart was, you know, letting that I think the first thing I do when I have somebody that I feel is disrespecting me and that I feel I need to give forgiveness is let them know that you have disrespected me or you have made me feel away.
The communication is very, very important.
It's huge, because what that does is it relieves that whole, well, they're probably thinking this, they're probably thinking this. Like, I want there to be no misconceptions. I want it to be clear. This is how you made me feel when you did this.
And some people are raised differently, so they don't even know they're disrespecting you sometimes.
Exactly. And so that's why you have to come out, you know, forthcoming and just be like, hey, this is how you made me feel. The second thing I had to do is literally the end of it is let it go. Because once you allowed that person to know how you felt, you know how they've treated you, I feel a weight like off me, because now I no longer have to carry that through my day. I don't have to go through like, well, I don't know if he, you know, that he did this when he said this. Like I had to be okay with, and I will say, you know, to the Kings, listen, like there's gonna be some people that you encounter where you tell them exactly how they, you know, you make them feel, and they got a whole revisionist history. They like, I ain't never did that. I ain't never said that. And so, and you have to be okay with their truth. You have to be like, okay, if that's what you think, I'm cool with it. But I just want to let you know that you have disrespected me. And if you don't think that this relationship is important enough to save and to salvage, that's okay with me.
And you know what? I want to harp on that, because one thing that he's saying is he's done trying to convince people. And when you stop trying to convince people, especially women, that's when you really start to live life. That's when you really start to live life.
Yeah, because like, but I feel like that's a majority, even with the whole dating. Like, to go to your point, like there's a lot of niggas out here that's trying to prove themselves to women, and they don't even like you.
You don't even like you, bro.
If being yourself is not enough, I can guarantee that a Gucci bag is not going to help.
It's not going to help.
Buying her a Prada bag is not going to help.
She's just going to use you, bro.
She's just going to use you and then use you up. Like, but you have to be okay with, all right, I've given all I can to this relationship. Anything past this, it's in God's hands.
Oh, God.
So, you know, and we're going to spend like another 10 minutes just on the emotional intelligence. So I want to go back to Chuka. So he's created the Renaissance Book Club, and he is now what I would consider established a space for Black men, especially men of color, to become emotionally intelligent, to feel their feelings, and not only feel their feelings, but to share it. I think it was such a, I don't even know how to explain the feeling, but it was just, I was sitting with like 10 strangers. And I felt, because 2020, everybody went through it. And I'm like, that one book club where it was the whole 2020 recap and everybody was pouring their heart. Like, I felt like I'm pouring my heart to complete strangers. Bro. I'm telling them, you know, my relationship with my dad, what happened in 2020. And it's just like, wow, I feel so free. Like, and to establish an environment like that, like, it's so important. So what was your thought process when you first went into creating that space for emotional intelligence amongst Black people?
There was a lot of thoughts, bro. There was a lot of thoughts. And thank you for all them words, bro.
Yeah,
I'm glad.
For sure.
I did that to you. I mean, coming out of 2020, one thing that I realized is that this society that we like exist in is really void of grace, right? Like, I feel like it doesn't allow us to like fully like learn from our mistakes. Right, I feel like you do something wrong, right, or you're perceived to be in the wrong of something, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, this is the person that you are, right? And like, if you're a nigga like me, you take that as like, damn, okay, this is the person that I am, right? You don't have. I feel like we need to create spaces where we can like really sit and think through like our mistakes, right? Like, and because we can't learn from shit if we are, I don't know, like if we are either ostracized, or if we are like demonized, or if we're X, Y, and Z. It's like, when we think about, a lot of people, I think around, 2019, 2018 would throw around this word of like restorative justice, how like it's unfair for people to be thrown in prison for life sentences, given the way in which the like prison system like disproportionately affects Black men. It's like, we need to have things in place that allow people to learn from their mistakes, right? Versus like just like confine them to a cell for the rest of their lives. I feel like we as men, like, we're not perfect, right? Like, nobody is perfect, right? But I don't think that we oftentimes allow enough space for us to like either allow enough space for us or create enough space for us to really begin to sit and challenge ourselves and think about, damn, was I fucked up here? Like, is there somebody else that's done something similar that can like tell me how they navigated this? And so I think that was one of the driving factors, was just trying to like understanding that I'm not a perfect nigga at all by any means. And I want to make sure that anybody else who feels less than perfect has a space through which we can like, grow and begin to challenge the way that we think, and correct, correct our mistakes and correct just kind of like how we're moving by way of like community. I feel like one thing that we like, there are a lot of books that we like read, like all about love when we're talking about forgiveness and our relationship with our parents, or man enough when we talk about like how we're perceived as men in society, where it was like, damn, like you experience this too. Like, how do you navigate this shit?
Yeah.
You know, because we don't talk about ourselves as men. Like, we don't talk about what we go through as men. And I have no idea what the question was, but my answer to whatever the question was is that I feel like it's just so important. Like, I think one of the tricks of like the enemy, one of the tricks of the devil is like to keep us in isolation.
Okay.
Right? Because then when we're in isolation, we can't learn from the shit that we're going through.
Oh
right?
God,
like,
we can't.
There's a whole bunch of shame there. There's a whole bunch of like, just like, whatever is done in the dark, that's just never a safe space for niggas to be in. And I feel like too many niggas exist in the dark because we're not given the light, which is the space of being able to express what we go through. So that was like the whole like thought process. That was the question. That was the thought process behind the book club, is like, we can avoid so much hurt, so much trauma, and so much confusion by creating an open forum with people who have been through something similar, where we can compare experiences and have a framework through which we talk about them, which is the books that we read.
Right.
Look, a truly wise man can learn from other people's mistakes.
Right.
Man.
Right.
At the end of the day.
Right.
And I think that's one thing that I'm learning within the book club. I'm learning within our podcast. So like, that's why I want to pose a question to you. Like, how do you think we have, because we talk about this conversation literally day to day.
Oh God.
How do you think we have cultivated a space of emotional intelligence? You know, whether it be talking to Dion, whether it be talking to Rob, Marcus, like, how do you think we've cultivated a space of emotional intelligence, like within our podcast?
I just think it's because we're all comfortable with each other. And at the end of the day, like Chuka said, there really aren't any, I won't say any, there aren't a lot of safe spaces for men to just talk.
Thanks.
You know what I mean? Because if we were to do it with our woman, most of the time women gaslight men problems.
Okay.
Like, let's just keep it funky. Like, they gaslight it because they don't understand. We don't understand their problems either, but we can't really talk about it with women. And if we talk about it out loud in the wrong space, we're deemed soft. We're deemed not tough. We're deemed in our feelings, emotional, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Sassy.
And so exactly.
Zesty's the new one. That's the new one.
Exactly.
Zesty's the new girl.
And so, with that being said, what men do is they just tend to shut up. You know what I mean? And that's never, like you said, it's never good to just shut up and never talk about your feelings. So one thing that I love doing is I love to call people ugly. I'm not gonna lie to you, but the reason why I do it is not because I actually think people are ugly, but I want people to be like as comfortable with me as they possibly can, because I call myself ugly all the time. Be like, damn, I'm ugly as hell for that. And so what's happened is I have created a space, not me like alone, but I have cultivated a safe space to where people can be themselves around me. And I'm comfortable and I've accepted them for who they are.
Wait, talk more about this ugly thing though. Like, how does that?
Yeah, because the Memphis down.
Okay, so when I call somebody ugly, I usually mean that like they did something stupid or they did something crazy. But the reason why I chose the ugly word is just because when I was younger, I felt as if I was ugly, because you know these niggas would check me all the time. I had a huge bottom lip, huge ears, a fat ass head. Like I thought I was ugly, and so like when I finally accepted that I was an ugly ass nigga, then it made me actually feel better. And so I literally started calling other people ugly because of that. Literally. I'm ugly and I'm proud. Type shit. Exactly. And so what happens is
I've never heard of this before.
Yeah, when I started to accept who I was, it made it way easier to accept other people for who they were. And because of that, I think it established a environment where we could just talk about anything. And I see that happening in all of our group messages where we're literally talking about, you know, being stressed one day, I can't do it, or I woke up at 5 a.m. and I ran a 7-mile run, or, you know, I'm tired of doing this, I'm tired of doing that, or this girl said this girl said that, I'm feeling like this, I'm feeling like that. I think that we've all cultivated a space because we accepted who we are, and I think a lot of people in this generation haven't accepted who they are.
Man. And once you are able to, you know, first forgive yourself, you know, to go back to the whole forgiveness piece, you know, we can forgive everybody, you know, every which way. But if you're not forgiving yourself at the end of the day, it's going to be very difficult for you to forgive somebody else.
Exactly.
So I think that's the first step, is forgiving ourselves for just being ourselves. I think sometimes I would say, shit, all of high school and then probably half of college, I had to forgive myself for just being myself.
Bro.
Niggas checked us for watching anime.
They checked us, bro.
You like, damn, I gotta hide this shit
Don't let you be wearing USPA,
Oh
bro.
my
You don't even
God,
want to go to
bro.
school, bro.
Hell no.
And so I just had to be, like, still check.
Nah, why was you wearing USB?
Nigga, we was in 6th, 7th grade, bro.
Take that shit off.
Bro, I literally probably wore USPA one time to school. Never wore it again. Had like 4 shirts though.
Never again, bro. But like, I think one thing that does to us, I feel like as men, this is sometimes how we had to learn. It's just like tough love.
Tough
it's like
love, bro.
just being okay. That's why we like grown that tough skin of just. All right, he's saying all these things about, oh, you ugly, your hair look like this, da da da. And it's just like, okay, once I reclaimed that, it was hard for people to get at.
It's almost impossible, really.
Because they were like, oh damn, he is short.
Oh God!
So what do I have to say now? Like, and so it's honestly owning yourself, like owning your flaws and all, like is really the start of it. And I think that's what starts with the whole creating a community of Black men, that want to be more themselves, become more emotionally intelligent. It's just accepting yourself for who you are.
Accepting yourself for who you are, bro.
Okay, so question for y'all, right?
Yeah.
So with the I'm ugly, or with the checking and shit, like while it's I'm curious, I have no point of view on this, like, because it sounds like it's created a positive sense of self for y'all and being able to like accept every piece of yourselves. Are there any like ramifications that y'all experienced of having had to be in defense mode so much?
Yeah, for sure.
Because that's a great question.
Because for me, well, I would say earlier on, when I come into different male groups, especially, I come on the defensive. So I'm already measuring myself. Who the alpha male? How am I better than them? And I had to turn that off.
You have to turn it off,
especially amongst Black men. Like we already socially at the bottom of the totem pole, so we can't beat each other up. Being a crabs in a barrel type mentality. I had to come with, how can I build my brother? Like if I'm checking this nigga all the time and I'm not showing how good he is, how how important he is into my life, then like we have destroyed the Black community, without white people doing anything.
Right.
So it had definitely made me, on the defensive whenever I'm, especially within male group sizing other people up. But like now I've gotten to a point where I'm like, I'm cool with myself. So, but I have also noticed when other men are not comfortable with themselves,
man,
because they feel like
you
they
see
need
it
to
100%
to me. They like, well, you ain't doing this, you ain't got this, you ain't making no money. I'm like, all right. So I see that he is very insecure with himself. He's not really understanding who he is within himself, and I'm gonna let him spew all that hate because I'm gonna just take it. And I'm cool with taking it because we've taken it a lot. Like.
Okay, so then for you, right?
So there's 2 ramifications for me. I won't say that I created the phrase like "you ugly," but I definitely overused the fuck out of it. And so what I think it has done is it's become low key trendy because at Arkansas, niggas started saying "you ugly," and definitely at A&M, folks start saying "you ugly." So I think like it's become a trend, but also I don't actually think I'm ugly, and that's like the part that I try to get people to realize. When I look in the mirror, I'm not looking at an ugly ass nigga. And so when I say the phrase "you ugly" to people who don't know me, they take extra offense to it because they're like, okay, this dude, he looks good. He's calling me fucking ugly. Who the fuck does he think he is? And I'm like, see, it's not even like that. So there's like opposite ramifications. And the reason why I worked at A&M in Arkansas is because I'd be with like my roommates, OB, or like Devin, and I'd be like, bro, you ugly as hell. And like everybody would hear me say that, but not actually mean that he's physically unattractive. So when I'd say it to them in like a joking manner, they'd get it. And they'd be like, that's kind of funny actually. And then they start saying it. And so I just think it's a function. The 2 ramifications are, 1, it's become low-key trendy. And 2, there's like the repercussions or like the way it's taken is way worse when I say it, because I think people just get in their feelings about it.
So have you had to like police how you say it, or is it still fuck it? I'm gonna call you ugly if I don't know you.
I don't say it at work because
Okay, of course. I mean, but like in different settings of people that you're.
If I don't know these folks, I'm not gonna say it.
Mhm.
But if I'm like having general banter, like let's just say me and Xavier go to like, you know, just a pool party or something.
Mhm.
Let's just say you there too. We all at a pool party. I'm gonna call y'all niggas ugly all day, and other people that I don't know, I'm not gonna call them ugly.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like a if I call you ugly, that means I actually really fuck with you.
Yeah.
Like in totality, like to be honest.
And that's just some Memphis shit. Like,
That's
if
just
I
some
check
Memphis
you,
shit.
I feel if I actually really like you, I'm gonna be talking shit.
Exactly. And I know it makes zero sense,
Yeah.
but that's just how it is. It's like a term of endearment almost at this point.
But no.
Kind of like stink.
Yeah, so
Hey stink, like
okay, that's okay. I'll take it.
Yeah.
So but yeah, just to wrap up. Actually, I got something for you too.
Oh,
I don't know how I did this.
Oh, should I not look? Oh, look.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm trying to see what you're talking about.
Yeah. What is it?
So
Hey. Whoa.
I gotta be
Whoa!
I gotta be on the mic on this.
You said what? Oh
Bro.
shit.
Bro, from the Two Black Kings team, bro. I'm always want to give my niggas their flowers.
Wow.
And bro, I want to give you your flowers, bro.
Hey!
Wow. Yes, sir, bro.
Wow.
Yeah, highly respected. Like, and when I tell you, like, you have made a space that will,
Jeez.
you know, your legacy is gonna be living forever in Dallas. So
I love
we
that.
appreciate you, bro.
I love
Thank
that.
you,
I love that so
Yeah,
much.
bro.
You've been an excellent guest on.
Thank you.
On the Two Black Kings.
On the Three
podcast.
Black Kings.
3 Black Kings type shit. You already know what it is.
So yeah, you got
Wow.
you got anything to plug for going forward?
Yeah. So our Barbershop Talk 3 is June 24th.
Okay.
So if you're in Dallas, if you're a black man, pull up. It is a free event.
Free
It's a free event.
$3.99.
Free haircuts, free hair care products. It's a great discussion. Free food.
Yeah.
And
I need to pull up to them motherfuckers.
nah, for real. It's like if you've seen the first one, you
There's
haven't.
two.
Yeah, if
Come
you've
on
seen
now.
the first two, you haven't seen the third. Like it's gonna be a completely different event. So I'm excited for it, man. We have a dope partnership that we announcing next week.
Okay.
It's gonna be in a dope spot. Like I'm really excited for this event, honestly.
When is it?
It's June 24th,
June 24th.
1 to 4.
I damn near gonna pull up for that.
Nah, you really have to, bro. Like,
What's the page?
RAN Book Club, bro. That's RAN Book Club on Instagram. And if you want to support us, we sell these shirts. It's Hey Black Man.
Come on,
Like, this
come
is
on,
a-
show it off.
Come on,
This
man.
is a reminder
Yes, sir.
to all black men that we're not alone, that we're loved, we're worthy, and we're heard.
Yeah.
Because our goal is to let every black man know, regardless of who they are, what they've been through, that they love. And so this shirt is on sale. The link is in our bio. $25 is real cheap. That's like a third of what y'all be spending in an hour.
Oh,
at
God.
home. So please support us. We would love it. And thank y'all.
Yeah,
for having me.
Of course.
This is really an honor, honestly.
For sure. So I just wanna go ahead and throw in my 2 cents. So this is the first time we've done this format. Let us know if you like this format. If you do, leave a like, comment, and let us know so we can do this more often.
Yeah.
You know, me and Xavier, we don't stay in the same city, but it ain't nothing but an hour and a half, 2 hour drive. So I'll make that whenever I need to, or he'll make that, and we'll get it popping. For sure.
All right. We'll see you next week.
Peace.
Yes, sir. Damn, nigga.
That was good, bro.
Nigga, you got me flowers, bro?
Yes, sir.
Wow.
Damn, that was a great one. That was a great one right there.
Yeah, that was hard.